All right, so today I'm going to talk about the Radial Profile Tool in the crater counting layer. We've got JMARS up here already. I'm not going to go into any of the basics of that. Crater counting layer, for anyone who doesn't know, you can add it a couple different ways. You can add it by hitting the plus button up here, and it's just come in and type, let's say, crater counting, and it should show up right there. If you prefer to look for it under the browse, it's right under the home category, towards the bottom a little bit, I think. And then also it can be accessed through this little 3-dot menu here. So any of those are quick ways to go get the crater counting. You can find that on any of our bodies we support, whether it's Mars or Venus or Bennu or anything else. Works the same way on all the different bodies. So at its simplest form, crater counting, when you first add it, you're going to see this little like ghost circle that moves around. And by default, at least on Mars, it's 100 kilometers. If you've got a trackpad or a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can adjust that up and down to change the size interactively. You can also hold down a key to change the color if you want a different color. But the general idea is you just kind of go around and you find a crater that matches a particular size. Go about to the center of it, click a button, and add that there. You can do much larger craters. If you zoom in someplace, you can go down to sub-kilometer resolutions. For the functionality that I'm going to demonstrate, I'm just going to use this default area here on Mars because it's got some good craters that look like that'll work for my demo purposes. So I'm just going to put a couple craters in here. You could tag ones differently, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for just fresh impacts or craters with central peaks or something like that. Do one more. Here, make it a little smaller. Okay. And then once you've got some craters in there, you can double click on the crater counting layer and you'll see a little table that shows you all the craters you just added. And if you wanted to come in and change some of the colors, you could do change colors in this table.
We can't see that window.
Okay, let me see how to share that. I'm gonna do new share, I guess. Thought I was sharing the whole, okay, I'll share the whole desktop here. There, can you see that window now?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we can change colors. If you've got decide after the fact that some of these are different meanings of something, but it's really a simple tool just to get a quick inventory of craters in the area. One of the reasons to do that is for age dating. So you can export this into a couple different formats, just a simple CSV format, or you could export it into a crater stats format that will do some processing and tell you for a particular region, if you've got this many craters, it means it probably formed in a certain age range. What I'm really going to highlight today, though, is this profile viewer tool here. And so once we've got a few different craters in here, we can click on Open Profile Viewer, and this guy will pop up. And what this is really doing is this is showing us a bunch of radial profiles. So you can see this crater here all of a sudden has these 6 different colored lines across it that match the 6 colored lines that are plotted on this graph here. And so what it's doing is from the center point of the crater, it's drawing out 6 different lines, and then it's showing us the profile for each one here. And if we didn't want 6, we wanted more, we can pick 8 and it'll draw more than that. If you want less, you can go to the opposite direction and just have 2 lines. And if you say, hey, I didn't really want them to start vertically, I really wanted them to be at a degree angle, you can update the degree angle, and now they're at an angle. Go back and say I wanted a bunch of them starting from that position. We can do that. If you are, for example, looking at very high resolution data, like you're zoomed in on Jezero crater or something, you could pick a different numeric source. If you had a high-rise DTM, you could use that as your background elevation source, as long as it covered the area that your craters were over. There's no requirement that these actually be craters. If you just wanted to drop it in a spot and see what the topography looks like, the trends in different directions. And for that matter, there's this default down here that says, what's the line length you want to plot by default? And by default, we do 120% of the crater radius, but you can up that and say, I want to go 150%, and then it'll go kind of past the crater rim. Or you can say, I don't want to go all the way to the end. I want to go just a little bit short and it won't go as far. Or if you don't want to base it off the actual width of the crater, you could say, let's do this in kilometers, and say, we're at a pretty low resolution scale, 100 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers. You have to hit enter to have it actually show up there. So there's 100 kilometers. I could come in and say, I want to do 300 kilometers, and the lines are going to go really, really far out, which doesn't make sense in this particular example, but it could be important on a different planet in a different context. If you're looking at some things. And so one of the questions might be asked is, why do this in the crater counting tool? Why not do it in the profile tool that JMARS has kind of up here? That's a very good tool for drawing profiles. And the simple answer for it is the use case that was described for wanting to do this was, hey, I've got a lot of different things that I want to be able to see quickly. And so let's say I've got this list of my areas that I'm interested in that I've defined as craters, but it's really just a center point and some sort of diameter or radius value. I can click on them in this table, and it generates these for me automatically for that crater. So I can just go down the list, and I can look quickly at my plots and say, does that show the trends I'm interested in or not? And pick out the ones that I'm most interested in following up on further. And I can go through my list. You can import a CSV file to bring this in. And go through real quick, creating temporary profiles, basically looking at them and deciding if you want to do future, further analysis. And then if you decide you want to, you can right click in the table here. You can say, save these out as a CSV. If you don't want, for example, all of them to be saved out, you can come in and say which ones you want to save. Do you want them to go out into one file or one file for each of the profiles? And you can come in and say also, show an average profile for all of the ones in there. Now they've got this little white line in here that shows us the average. And so we can kind of go back and click on some of those others again and see, the average shows up in there for that feature. And so that's kind of a quick overview of the Radial Profile tool. Hopefully that's been helpful. And anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure, Paul.
Once you've selected that you want a mean profile, can you export that? Is that
yes? Yeah. So if we open this, it shows up in the average profile as well. So you can get that exported.
And you could do just average profiles.
And you could do just the average profile. Yeah, you could deselect the rest of them and say, I just want to export the average profile.
And can that export all the craters in your list into a single file?
It's gonna do them one at a time.
Okay.
But if that's a feature that would be useful, we could look into that at least.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Anybody else?
Yes, just curious, Scott.
Sure.
JMARS has various options to draw profiles and crater counting. What is the difference drawing profile in a crater using Radial Profiling Tool that you showed, or that tool mode that draw profile in a toolbar?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer really is, how do you manage all the profiles that you've drawn? And so in the crater counting layer here, since the idea is to kind of go through and look at them really quick, it's inherently saying these profiles are associated with this row in the table. Mm-hmm. And when I click that row, I get those profiles. Mm-hmm. If we go into the profile tool and draw our own profiles, at least currently in JMARS, we don't have a way to quickly associate a group of profiles together, right? Okay. So I've got 6 profiles for each of these 5, for each of these 5 craters. So I've got 30 profiles in here, mm-hmm. but I'm looking at 6 of them at a time and jumping through them, and we don't have a way to easily manage that in the profile tool currently. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a difference of use cases. if you're looking to really see, and this is also specifically, radial profiles. If you
Sure.
wanted to draw a bunch of different, profiles across the crater, not going through the radius, this
Exactly.
tool wouldn't help you in any way there. You would need to do that in the profile tool.
Okay, very good.
For, so I think the profile tool is kind of for doing things on a more particular, more focused basis, maybe. And it handles, every use case, whereas this one's been optimized for one use case that you're just gonna look at profiles quickly and then move on.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. I
Sure.
understand. Mhm.
Any other questions?
Scott, I have one more.
Sure.
Some impact crater scholars like to take a diameter profile instead of just the radius. Is that a possible enhancement you could see putting out in JMARS?
Yeah, I think we'll be adding that in and have that available as a feature available in the very near future.
Ooh, that's exciting. Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Paul.
Did you show different export formats in the export?
So I think the only real export format we do here is CSV. So it just but it will do either all the files can go out into, or all the profiles can be saved out into one file for this crater, or it can actually save each file out into its own profile. So you'd have,
Okay.
profile 0.csv, profile 1.csv. And the idea is, some people have scripts, either in Python or DaVinci or some other tool that they want to run these through to do some sort of analysis. And they might be expecting everything to be in one file or in individual files. So that's kind of the case we're trying to support there.
So that's export for profiles as opposed to export on the focus panel, which takes crater data in different.
Oh, exactly right. Yeah. So over here, it's going to export all of the center points for your crater information, with the idea that, yeah, maybe you're taking that and doing that in crater stats, or just saving it for your own purposes.
Right, and that supports at least 3 formats, so for not just.
Right, exactly. That supports the old crater stats format, the new crater stats format, and then the actual just a CSV format. And similarly on this one, you can click on config and say if you want to export all the other columns out with that, or if you just want the basic information.
Great.
Oh, Scott, I have another.
Okay.
Can you export? It's a beautiful graph. If you wanted to use that as a figure, do you have a way to?
Yes. Yep. So you can also come in here and you can say save this as a PNG.
Oh,
and save the images that's there right there. So
that's terrific. Cool.
And you can probably customize the background and some things.
And I think, yeah, it's the similar functionality that we have whenever we show charts in JMARS. You can come in with the properties.
Yeah, customize.
Change what the plot text is.
Header, plot, colors.
Some of the colors, and
so
yeah,
it can
it's using the functionality of JFree chart.
And look great on your poster is the way you want it. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, anything else? Okay, let's end this demonstration right here, and we'll be back next week with another presentation on the feature of JMARS. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Scott.